Alright, you guys, welcome. Welcome to our live. I'm excited to be doing this live this evening. We have a special guest. Hi. Hi, guys. Thanks for jumping on. We're just about to get started. Sorry for the delay. But I hope everybody has had a good day. I was saying I'm super excited about the young lady that will be getting on live with us today. Her story is similar to mine. And I'm just excited, to hear how she's kind of been able to navigate her grief journey, what it's looked like. And as soon as she jumps on here, we'll go ahead and get started. Here she is. All right, but again, if you're just joining, welcome to the live. Share it, tag somebody in it that might need it. And yeah, we're going to get this conversation. Thanks for being on. All right. Hello, beautiful.
Hi, how are
How
you?
are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. All right. So, I was telling everybody I'm excited to have this conversation. This has been a long time coming. They don't even know how
Yes.
long I've been planning to get you on here. And so today's the day.
Today is the
And
day, and I
so,
know you wrote me so long ago wanting to have this
yeah.
conversation, and I was just like, I am not ready. And then randomly last week, I was like, I think I'm ready.
Yeah, and the thing that people have to understand about grief and their process is that it takes time. You know what I mean?
hmm
So I'm glad that when you felt you were ready to share your story, and just some helpful information that you gave yourself grace. Right now wasn't the
Yes.
time, but I'm glad that, like I said, today is the day. And so before I get into you, I'm just going to share for the people who don't know me. My name is Ebony Gibson. I am the founder of Can I Grieve, which is a brand that I created to inspire, encourage, and educate people to rise above grief. About 5 years ago, I personally lost my mom, and since then, I've lost a few other family members. And just with everything going on in the pandemic, seeing people grieve different things, because don't get it twisted, people don't just grieve people, they also grieve things that they no longer have access to.
hmm
Okay, and so that's kind of what created the brand. And I'm just excited that we can have other people who have experienced different loss in their life get on here to share their story, as well as anything that they want to bring to the table. So, with that being said, we have a boss in the building all the way from Texas. And if you can just share with everybody watching who you are, what your background is, and then just kind of share your story of what you actually experienced with your grief.
Okay, so yes, my name is India, and I currently live in San Antonio, Texas. I've been here for about 5 years. I'm from Alexandria, Virginia. Sorry. I'm a graduate from Virginia State University, class of 2016.
Woo woo.
Um, after I graduated with my degree in marketing and communications, I got a job offer in San Antonio, which pushed me here. I got my cosmetology license in high school, and since then I've used it. At first, I started out doing hair on campus and all of those things. And then once I got to San Antonio, I wanted to use it in a different way. And so I started to do eyelash extensions. And since then, I have opened up about 3 locations. I currently own a salon suite where I have 6 tenants, all of which who I believe are some of San Antonio's like greatest beauticians, and they all offer different services. And this is my first commercial location. So from the ground up, it was completely bare. I built it out as it is today. And during the process of signing my lease is when I found out, excuse me, that my mother was sick, which was last July. And so 4 years ago, in April of 2018, I lost my grandmother to breast cancer at the age of 61. She was diagnosed in high school when I was in high school, but just got progressively worse. And when she happened to pass, I was 4 months pregnant, and so I went through starting my business, going through my first pregnancy with the loss and the grief of my grandmother. And then fast forward to this past August or October, I'm sorry, I lost my mom to breast cancer as well at the age of 42. She had stage 4 breast and liver cancer. Um, And she was diagnosed in July of 2021 and had passed in October of 2021. So when she got diagnosed, she was already at stage 4 and it had already metastasized to her liver. So
That's so
been working through that.
interesting.
Hmm.
Did she ever get like tested before because it ran in your family?
She did not, and to know my mother is to know that she was a little bit of an avoidant, and she was
Okay.
also scared of those type of things. And I think honestly, as a community, we don't know about all the testing that is available to us.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that she did not use those resources, but I also know that because my grandmother had lived with it for as long as she did and passed at 61, she probably thought, just like I thought, that there was more time before, if
Yeah,
anything were to happen, that it would happen. Um, so since then, I have done, I guess, my job and that responsibility of getting tested so that
that's good.
I know what the future looks like for me, and then I'm able to then pass on to my daughter that education and how to better care for herself.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you're taking those steps.
Have
Okay,
to.
and obviously sorry for your loss. I did not know your
Thank you.
mom, but she seemed like a beautiful person and she raised a
Thank
beautiful
you.
daughter. So that's
Thank you.
awesome. So I did do a couple of questions just to kind of
Okay.
get the conversation going. So I want to ask you, how have you managed being an entrepreneur, a mom, and all the other roles and titles that you have while dealing with your loss?
Um, I think the number one thing that I will say is I'm not really someone who is comfortable with asking for help or even accepting help. And so during this time, it has been a great strength to lean on the people around me. So
Hmm.
whether that is at my shop or with my daughter, I've been able to just like lean on those, around me to keep pushing. After my mom passed, I only took a month off, which perspective, right? If that's like enough time or if I should have taken
Yeah.
more time off. But um, the minute that I got off the plane from, my mom passing and all of that, and I landed back in San Antonio, I remember my girlfriend picked me up from the airport and I remember asking her to like, just like pull over because all the cars around me were moving so fast. And I
Hmm.
realized at that moment very quickly that like nothing stops and everything
Right.
keeps going. And you also have to do the same. And so I would say to take that time off and to lean on those around me is what definitely helped me be able to like carry and wear all these different hats.
Okay. I like that. I like that because a lot of people that try to, isolate or like you said,
Mm-hmm.
they're kind of stuck in their own ways where they don't like asking people for help
Mm-hmm.
or, just leaning on the shoulder. And so I'm glad that you extended yourself that grace by actually asking for help or if you needed something. That's good.
And it's definitely okay to like take time to yourself because I do think that that time allows you to gain clarity and understand like the actual situation that you're in, but to
Yeah.
isolate and to neglect yourself or neglect those around you is not necessarily what the person whom you've lost would want, but it's
Right.
also not healthy for that process to do that. So definitely like spend time alone if you need it for the clarity, but
Yeah.
to isolate is just not healthy, I don't believe.
Yeah. I agree. And what did you say that I wanted to piggyback off? I'm trying to think because you said so much. So it wasn't the help. It was something else that you said. Oh, okay. So timing. You said you were able to take off a month. And so
Hmm.
were you able to take off a month because you are a boss, you're an entrepreneur, or how does that work? Because I know a lot of times people aren't afforded a month to grieve.
Right.
They got to go back to work. They got to keep
Hmm.
going, like you said. So is that
Um,
a
I was
reason why?
able I was able to take a month off because my mother's situation had been a few months, right, from her diagnosis to her passing. And so a lot of my clients were privy to like what I was kind of going through. And so being
Hmm.
in constant communication with them allowed me to keep them updated. And after she passed, I gave a girlfriend my phone and I said, text everybody who I have in the next few weeks and post on Instagram and just let them know like I won't be in work for the next like month and a half or whatever the case is. But yeah,
Right.
the main reason, which is a blessing, is because I do own my business. So I was able to say like I just can't service y'all right now.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Good, good. I love entrepreneurship. So that. So what's something that you think people misunderstand about grief? Like if you could
I
think of one thing.
I think that a lot of people think that grief um, has a timeline,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't. So, sorry.
You're fine.
Oh.
You got this. And thank you for your transparency and your vulnerability.
So, yes, I think that people think that grief has a timeline, and it doesn't. And so, trying to get into the person's head who is grieving and trying to figure out, like, maybe where they currently are to maybe like rush that, you
Yeah.
know, is something that I don't think that a lot of people understand, is that it's a forever thing and every day doesn't look
Yeah.
the same. Um, but that, yeah, it's not gonna, it just doesn't go away. And there's different stages. And if people whom are trying to support those who are grieving can do the research to know like what those stages are, to then be able to support the person as they are like going through it,
Yeah.
I think would be like very helpful
Yeah.
to those, because there are
It's
so many stages.
it is. It is. And for the people that don't know, it's five different stages of grief, or that's the general research that's been done. There's anger, depression, denial, bargaining, and then acceptance, which is supposed to be the final stage. I always say I don't believe, those five different stages are in a specific order, just
Mm-hmm.
because you cannot go through depression right away, or you could not be angry right away, but then later on, you know what I mean? So I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it's a specific order, but that's the generic order that they typically give. um and so I love that. I do love that response, because I do think if people knew the different stages, they would actually understand how to support their friend in need or support their family member if they actually understood it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not
And
something that's super, commonly talked about. It's just kind of one of those things where you deal with it, and
mm-hmm.
some people don't know how to deal with it, or haven't experienced it. So I had to learn myself not to be mad at people for not sticking around or reaching out or whatever I felt they should be doing, because I had to understand maybe they don't know how to
Mm-hmm.
deal with something like this. Maybe it's too much for them. So
There
I
was one
definitely
stage
agree.
that you just said that I wasn't familiar with, which is bargaining. What is that?
Hmm. So bargaining is like where you're trying to think, what could I have done different? Could I have,
Okay.
forced my mom to go to a center? Could I have, it's like just kind of like playing with your head pretty much. Different scenarios, thinking of what you could have done
Could
differently
have done
if you
better
could
and
have.
different.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but we all know that it's nothing we could do different. God always has the final say so, regardless of
Yeah.
what we think or want. So, yeah. Do. Okay. Where would you say you are in your grief process today?
I wrote some notes.
Okay.
So where I would say I currently am in grief is just like picking up the pieces, because as I said, things don't stop. And
Yeah.
so I think it was about maybe like a month and a half ago, I told like a lot of the people around me that like I'm just now waking up to realize like what right now is,
Yeah.
and then waking up to also realize that the last 5 months I was not here, right? Like
Yeah.
I was working, I was momming, I was girlfriending, I was being a friend to people, I was also being a daughter to my dad, but I don't know what was really happening during that time. And
Mm-hmm.
so I would say that like currently I am picking up the pieces and just like moving forward, if that's the right thing to say, right? Moving
Yeah.
forward to like what's the next stages are for like my
Mm-hmm.
life and my business and all of those things.
Okay.
Trying to get it
That's
together.
fair. Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair thing to say. Um, what does your self-care look like? How do you take care of India?
Mm. So last week I had a day where I woke up and I was just like, I'm not doing anything today. And I had a clientele of like 6 clients for that day, and I've never really used the term like for my mental health, even though I
Yeah.
know it's obviously a real thing, but I do think a lot of people kind of like play on that a little bit. But I
Mm-hmm.
literally woke up and I could hear God say like, not today. And I don't miss work, I don't cancel clients, like I don't do things like that, because although for me it may be one client, that one client rearranged their whole day to come see me, you know? So
Yeah.
it's like missing appointments, I really don't do that. So I just woke up one day last week and was like, I cannot today and I won't. And so I think that listening to myself more and setting up boundaries and not like overworking myself is a little bit of my self-care. I also know that my mother would not like me to be looking a mess. And so
Yeah.
I try now to like keep up with myself and make sure like I'm getting my hair and stuff done. Um, and just treating myself in those ways. Self-care also for me recently has looked like journaling a little.
Okay.
I've recently also fasted and tried to like reconnect with God in a way, because I was mad at him for a very long time. And so those are the things that I feel like I'm doing that are the best for me to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can totally relate to being mad at God. I did not want to pray. I did not pray for a little
Mm-hmm.
while. I was very upset and I didn't understand. Because prior to me losing my mom 5 years ago, I had never lost anybody close to me,
Mm-mm.
like at
Mm-hmm.
all. Like maybe like a great parent, grandparent or great aunt, something like that, but nobody close to me. So for him to take the closest person, it didn't really sit well with me. But I'm thankful, God knows what we need in spite of how we feel. And so I'm thankful that other people pray for me. I'm thankful
Mm-hmm.
that when I couldn't pray for myself, it was other people.
Mm.
So I definitely can relate to that. And I'm glad that you decided to, repair and refix, because ultimately that's what we get our strength from. So
Mm-hmm. For
that's
sure.
awesome. Now, did you go to any type of counseling? I know, or like any see a therapist? I know there's like grief counseling or just private therapy. Did you feel like any of that was something you wanted to do or partook in?
So the hospital and like the hospice group, I believe, right, whoever they
Mm-hmm.
are, they've reached out several times and asked for me to, join these survivor groups of people whom have either came out or lost people due to breast cancer. I think that down the line, that's something that I will get into.
Mm-hmm.
I tried therapy. I was previously in therapy for just personal, everyday,
Yeah.
encouragement. And so I went back to that therapist after about 5 or 6 months of not seeing her,
Mm-hmm.
and her advice to me, or lack thereof advice, completely turned me off from therapy. Completely,
Mm.
because it was a session of nothing but me crying and expressing myself, and her pretty much saying like, "Thank you so much for sharing, and let's get you on the books for next week." And I'm like, what was that about?
Right.
And so what I learned is that there's different therapists for every single thing. So I probably should have specifically went to a grief therapist,
Yeah.
but also knowing that I went into it expecting steps. Like I went into it expecting for her to say like, okay, tomorrow I want you to do this. When you wake up and you
Yeah.
feel this way, here's some things that you can do. And when I didn't
Mm-hmm.
get direction from her, I was just like, I wasted my time and my money. And so
Yeah.
I'm going to find a specific therapist who deals with grief and loss. And I have them all screenshotted in my phone. That's just not where I'm at yet. But
Yeah.
um, no, I think journaling and my daughter, maybe even, might be where I get that therapy from.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. I personally didn't do any type of counseling or therapy myself, but I always tell people if you need it, don't stray away from it. It's just
Mm-hmm.
personal preference, right? And
Mm-hmm.
like you said, maybe later down the line it's something that you will do, but for now, you got journaling and your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I didn't ask you this question, but how has it been like with you being a mom? I know we kind of talked about being a mom and a business owner and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
like, have there ever been a time where, you were in mommy mode and something just hit you or you had to be vulnerable in front of your daughter? And what would you say about that? Because I'm the type of person where, and this is something about grief too, that people probably don't know or don't understand, is that any time and any moment, something can remind you of something, just something can trigger you, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And so have you ever had that experience, and what did you kind of do in that situation? Did you express yourself, not express yourself, or not even really experience that yet?
I am a crier, so at the drop of anything, I cry, and I'm just not really, I don't care about it. Like, I'm not embarrassed about it. And so my daughter has seen me cry several times, and I do try to hide those moments, right? Whether like crying in the shower, crying in my closet. But I do truly believe that um, first of all, I have a very smart daughter, so I can't hide that from her. And
Yeah,
so at those times, she has came to me and said, "Mommy, you're crying again. Like, Mommy, it's okay." And she'll rub my back, and she's very caring and very gentle. So yeah, I've had that moment in front of her. I had a moment last week where I was on the phone with a girlfriend, and I was just like going through it, and I forgot that she was so smart, right? And so I
yeah,
was just like, and my mom died, and she said, "Your mommy died?" And she associates dying with like the phone dying, right? And she just knows she
yeah,
can't use it anymore. YouTube is gone. And so she's like, "Your mommy died?" And I'm just like, no, no, she didn't, right? And I had to kind of
yeah,
like retreat and come back and understand that like there is a reality that she is not aware of as of yet. And she talks
yeah,
to my mom all the time. She there's a picture of her in my shop, and she talks to the picture all the time, and she plays with her cell phone, and I'll be like, "Who are you talking to?" "Your mommy." "Oh yeah, tell her I said hi." And she said, "Okay." And then she'll just keep talking to her. So it's just so strange.
yeah,
um but yeah, she brings her up all the time, but never in a way that I think she understands, right? But she
yeah,
just, like, she's around, like she's
yeah.
still around. Yeah.
It's so interesting. Kids are so smart. So I have a little sister. She's
Mm-hmm.
3. And I was literally out with her last week and my bonus daughter. And
Mm-hmm.
so we were sitting at the table and she just randomly said, "So I heard," or she said, "So your mommy died. So now you get a new mommy?" And I was just like, "What?" Like, the number one, this is so random. How did you
Mm-hmm.
even notice? You're 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then my bonus daughter says, "What happened? Or why she died?" Like, they don't
Mm-hmm.
understand, but the fact that they can perceive it kind of, but they don't understand it was so interesting to me. It caught
Mm-hmm.
me off guard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and someone on here said, "Currently grieving the loss of my child's father. My son once sent, I think that's message, me crying, asked me why. I told him I missed his dad, and his words to me were, 'Mommy, I'm still here. You have me.'"
Mm-hmm.
Kids are the best. They don't
They
know what's
are.
going on, but they give you that love, that unconditional
Mm-hmm.
love.
I do believe that like my daughter has, and I'm sure everyone may feel this way, but like truly, I feel like my daughter has been sent to me to help me through
Hmm.
these like multiple losses. Because at the time when I was pregnant and my grandma had passed, I remember like 2 weeks before she passed, I didn't know that it had gotten that bad, right? I'm here in
Yeah,
San Antonio, and I just was completely separate from everything happening in the Northern Virginia area. And my mom had called me, and I was like, "I want to tell her that I'm pregnant. I want to tell my grandma I'm pregnant."
yeah,
And she's just like, "No, no, no, not yet." And I was just like, "Why?" I don't understand why I couldn't share it. But the story comes out that she was obviously going to pass soon, and my mom felt
yeah,
like if she knew, she would have found a reason to kind of like hold on, or
yeah.
felt guilty that she knew she couldn't control inevitably like what was going to happen. And so I remember, like, my grandma passed when I was 4 months pregnant. And I remember putting so much pressure on my mom to help me with my baby shower. And every day I'm calling
Hmm.
her, like, "Did you call the venue? Did you do this? Did you get the caterer?" And she's just like, "India, I'm trying." Right. And because I
Right,
hadn't gone through it yet, I didn't realize that, like, she can't, she's doing the best that she can, but she also just lost her mom. And
right.
so when my daughter was born, my mom used to put on Facebook all the time, like, my daughter London, she's like, "London has saved my life." And I believe that she was literally gifted or given for those reasons to like just bring that encouragement
Yeah,
and help my mom, and then help me, now through that same loss.
that's awesome. Children are definitely a blessing. And they
Hmm.
come at the randomest times, right? I
For
know some
sure.
people plan, some people don't, but that's just what it is. So, what are some tips that you can share to anyone grieving the loss of a parent or even a loved one, however you want to put it?
Um, so first, I guess I would say to like surrender to the grief,
Mm-hmm.
not to necessarily like fight it. I'll be doing a client, crying in my mask, run to the bathroom and cry. Like, so surrender to that process because if you don't in the moment, all it does is like grow deeper
Yes.
and it's going to get worse if not. And also, it's just going to attack your body in different ways. So, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you definitely have to like surrender to it. I would say, like we talked about, journal or therapy if that is your process, right? That you
Yeah.
choose to go on. One lesson or piece of advice that I was given by Alexia, I believe you may know Alexia. She
Mhm.
also lost her mom few months before my mom.
Yeah.
She came to the hospital and told me, like, you know, be prepared for the calls to stop. Be prepared for people to stop calling you and stop checking on you.
Mm-hmm.
And when that finally hit me, I realized like that's when the self soothing comes in and figuring out, excuse me, figuring out what to do in those like silent times when
Yeah.
there's nobody around. Um, and then I also wrote down to focus on who's left because you can't neglect those around you. There's people whom still need you to keep it together or be there
Yeah.
for them. So be selfish, but don't neglect those people around you. And
Yeah.
then to love on the people who God left you with. So if you lost one parent, like try to reconnect with your other parent if that's like a
Yeah.
relationship that's not strong or get closer to them. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
something that I've been doing as well, getting closer to my dad because I do have two younger siblings with my dad, but I'm my mom's only child and I was my grandmother's only grandchild. So
Yeah.
yeah, those are oh, and talk about them. Talk about them and keep them alive. I'll talk about my mom to anybody,
Yeah.
like anybody.
I love that. I love that. I don't know which one I love more, but I do love surrender to the grief.
Hmm.
Because you're right. If you don't deal with it, if you don't acknowledge it, it's just going to bottle up and
Hmm.
you're going to be dealing with things later on that you didn't even know you had because you never acknowledged it. So I
Hmm.
love that. And I love everything that she said, love on the people that you do still have,
Hmm.
because like we talked about in the beginning, life still has to happen. Life still is going to go on. So, like you said, if you still have another parent around, like love on them, they
Hmm.
may need you. How you say you feel like your daughter was that gift. You be that gift to them,
Hmm.
It's because the thing is like, and I had to realize this too, even though it's our mom, there was still other people that loved her just as much,
Just as much, yeah.
not more, but just as
Right.
much, like my grandma, that's still her daughter. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's not just about us. Like you said, that selfish part too. We still have to be present and loving to other people as well.
And there's just like trying to find the things to be grateful about.
Yeah.
So when my mother did pass, right, which mind you, with my grandmother and my mom, I sat by them, right, until they took
Yeah.
their last breath, right? I went out to get food. For my mom, it was different. Went out to get food, came back, and unfortunately, she had passed. But I just remember the 2 or 3 months after passing, every time I did talk about her, someone had said like, "You seem like okay," and I'm like, "Well, I'm not. Number one,
Right.
but I found this super amount of gratefulness that I don't know if a lot of people get when this has happened to them or will get when it happens because
Hmm.
it will happen, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, but that me and my mom were so close that I don't feel like there's any question that I have left. I
Yeah.
don't, there's nothing that I wonder about. There's nothing that she didn't share with me. Because it wasn't like a sudden passing or a accident of some kind. I did get to spend the last 24 hours with her and laying with her, and she was more so like in a coma kind of for like about a week, so
Yeah.
she couldn't speak to me, but they say the last thing to go is hearing. And so I lay with her and I talked to her and I thanked her, and I got to do that, and a lot of people don't, like,
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that I was able to tell her, thank you and all the things.
Yeah. I mine was sudden, so I
Hmm.
didn't know, but my situation is a little similar as far as me being the only child like you. My dad has other kids, but I was my
Hmm.
mom's birth only child.
And I remember
Um,
meeting your mom. I don't know if
yeah,
you remember.
you
Okay.
did. You did. You
Yes,
came to the house. You did.
for
Yes, you and
our
Katrina.
homecoming.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And it's so crazy because I've probably only been to one of my homecoming because the homecoming always fell around her birthday. That's the reason why I came home.
Mm.
And
Okay.
so I had no idea, that she would pass less than a year of us being out of college. But I'm so grateful
Mm.
that while I was in college, I was always coming home. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because I never knew that my time would be limited. And I was saying all that before you said that about meeting my mom. That what was I going to say? She
You were saying it was sudden and you don't have siblings
Yeah, I
with
was
your.
going to say the
Mm-hmm.
closeness, being close with my mom. We were super close. And so when you said you don't feel like there's anything unanswered or any questions, I feel kind of the same way. And the reason why I'm so positive and able to,
Mm-hmm.
move as I do is because we were so close and
Mm-hmm.
everything that was instilled in me. And I still, talk about her, like you said, keep her alive, and those memories keep me going. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty sure it's kind of the same with you as well if you guys were super close. So that's good.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
for
Yeah.
sure. All right. Last thing, unless you have
Mm-hmm.
something else for me. What is
Um,
your Oh, go ahead.
well, I just wanted to know, right? Because
Hmm.
I'm a little earlier in this process. When I do talk to people, I wonder how they lost their
Hmm.
parents. So if you're able to talk about it, like how your mom passed.
Yeah, so it wasn't anything that I was prepared for. Wasn't anything that I knew about. It was just kind of like the Super Bowl was when. So my birthday, she literally passed 2 days before my 23rd birthday.
Mm,
So I literally went from planning a birthday to planning a funeral in a
mm,
matter of 24, 48 hours. And I remember the day before, because my birthday's in February, is right before the Super Bowl. So we literally watched the Super Bowl together. She cooked dinner. After that, she went in her room. I went in my room. I was doing my birthday makeup, trying to make sure I had my look for the next couple of days. And then literally the next morning, my mom, she was a supervisor. So she can go to work today, tomorrow, whenever she wanted to. She just has to call and check in with the job, see how
mm-hmm.
everything's going. And so when I woke up that next morning, my mom was still in bed. And so I just thought, maybe she was sleeping in or whatever. And just to make a long story short, I was doing like an internship at the time or something like that. And I kept getting phone calls from different people like, hey, we haven't talked to your mom today. And I'm like, well, that's strange. If she's home, she's going to call the job. And the job is calling saying that they haven't heard from her. And so I'm reaching out. I don't hear anything, but I don't think, anything of it. And my mom, we talked every single day. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a day that we didn't talk,
Mm-hmm.
like at all. We talked every
Mm-hmm.
single day, whether it was
Mm-hmm.
text, phone, every day. And so I already started like getting a feeling that something wasn't right because I'm like, that's not like her to not check on her staff, or that's not like her to not check on me. And so as I'm pulling up to the house, I see her car outside. So I'm really like, she's not answering the phone. The car is outside. What's going on? And so I don't want to go in the house, but I'm on the phone with my godmother, and she's like, Ebony, you have to go in the house. So I literally go in the house, and she'd already passed away. Literally. Like, I called the ambulance, and they were like, do CPR. And I'm like, for what? Like, I can already tell. You know what I mean? Like, she's still in her pajamas. Like, she's not asleep. It's like 1 o'clock in the day. And so it was very hard because I was the one that actually found her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just like I said, I didn't have any time to prepare. And I know it doesn't really matter whether you have time to prepare or not. It still hits, it still hurts the same. But that's pretty much what happened. And one of the things that stuck with me, that still sticks with me to this day, when I was doing the funeral arrangements and stuff like that, a lady at the cemetery told me, your mom wouldn't have left you if you weren't ready. And I believe that. You know what I mean?
Me too.
Because we were so close, I believe my mom would have fought to the end. If she could have, she would have. but I believe her whatever she was going through was over. We never got an autopsy done. They declared it a myocardial infarction, which pretty much just means a heart attack.
Mm.
So I'm fine and I'm at peace knowing that she passed in her sleep. I think that's the
Mm-hmm.
best way to go. You know, if it was
Mm.
something else, accident, murder, whatever, that's something that,
That's some
that
completely
lingers and
different.
weighs on
Yeah.
you. But
Yeah.
the fact that she was home in her bed, nobody harmed her, I'm cool with it, And if
Mm-hmm.
she had a condition that she didn't tell me about, I'm cool with that as well. She did what she felt was best for her and what was best for me.
Mm.
So I hope that kind of answers your question.
No, yeah, I share the same feeling as far as Lord, sorry.
You're fine.
Leaving when they know that you are prepared, right? When they
Yeah.
know that they have done their job to force you, into that independence. And I feel like when I got that job offer after leaving state and moving to San Antonio, that
Hmm.
was pivotal because that's when like adulthood for me started. Like I
Yeah.
talked to, there was not an hour of any day that went by that me and my mom were not on FaceTime, talking, texting. There's not a
Right.
decision that I didn't buy a t-shirt without calling her like, what you think? So when I
Exactly.
when I moved and she would still go to Virginia State homecoming without me after I moved, like getting the
Wow.
fish plates like on the yard. Everybody's like, I see your mom. I'm like, very embarrassing. So,
Right.
so I said to say when I moved to San Antonio, that forced me to separate like and detach from her, and I had to make decisions on my own and get my own apartment, and like there was daily struggles that I couldn't just call her for, and
Yeah.
so I do think that these past 4 years living in San Antonio without her and having to go through the things that I've been through, that just like I don't want to say it made it easier, but she left when she knew I could be okay, and she prepared me
Right.
for the extreme like independence and survival
Yeah.
for sure,
I receive
for
it. I
sure.
receive it. And so I was going to ask you, what's your favorite memory with your mom? If you could think of one. I know you have plenty.
I know.
I know I'll be puzzled when somebody asks me that. Like, which one?
um I think that one of my favorite would probably be me moving to San Antonio
Mm-hmm.
because it was a process when I was interviewing with the company that I accepted the offer from, to where there was obviously multiple interviews and stages, whatever the case is. And every day I would call her like, they invited me to the next round. And she'd be like, you ain't going nowhere. And I'm like, I'm telling you, if I get this job offer,
Right.
I am out and I'm moving to Texas. And so the day of like the last interview, I called her and she was like, you got that damn job, didn't you? And I said, yep. And they gave me like 2 weeks to move. So I packed up my car, shipped a bunch of stuff, packed up my car, and her and I drove in my car. And then my girlfriend, one of my best friends, and my mom's best friend drove my girlfriend's car behind us and
Mm-hmm.
followed 26 hours to San Antonio. And we
Wow.
stopped we stopped in Florida overnight. We went to a few bars, got drinks, went to the beach, woke up the next morning, hit the road, stopped in Houston, bar hop, club hopped, got drunk. I mean, we just that was
Y'all
literally my
made it a
best
road
friend.
trip.
We made it an actual road trip.
Yeah.
And when we got to San Antonio, she drove me around to Walmart, Walgreens, the police station, a hospital, like just so I knew where
Yeah.
the surrounding spaces were because she was so nervous to like, to leave
Let
me.
you leave. Yeah.
Yep. And similar to when she passed, right? And then in that
Mm-hmm.
moment when she was leaving me in San Antonio, there's no time for me to think about myself because I was always, just trying to console her. So
Yeah.
in both moments, I'm telling her, like, it's okay. I'm going to be fine. Stop it.
Yeah.
So that road trip, we had a lot of fun. Like, we had a lot of fun. So that's probably one of my many favorite memories.
That's awesome. Look at that. A whole road
Mm-hmm.
trip. Something you'll
Mm-hmm.
remember for a lifetime.
Yep. And still got the car sitting outside.
I know that's right. Okay,
Yep.
well, I don't want to keep you long. I definitely appreciate you jumping on here, sharing your story, your transparency, your vulnerability, just everything that you
Mm-hmm.
shared with us today. Like I said, we've been trying to set this live up for months. And
Yeah.
so I'm just glad that we were able to do this. I know so many people got something out of this. Share this live, guys, with anybody who may need it. The replay is going to be available. India, I'll send it to you as well. Um, and yeah, do you have any final words, any questions? And if you guys have any questions on live, definitely feel free to drop them in the comment section.
Mm, um, I don't know. I think that, well, thank you, obviously, for the invite for sure, and for like giving me this platform to have another space to talk about my mom because I love doing that. Um, there's not much to say to anyone to prepare for these type of situations.
Yeah.
So I will say thank you to people who are watching who have also prayed for me, been supportive, um, answered the phone when I called, and always just like spoken positivity. And yeah, that's it. And love on your people. That's it. Whoever you have around you, just love on them. And if you, even if it's like you waking up and somebody's on your mind that you haven't talked to in like weeks, like connect to whoever is on your mind. Yeah, connect.
Somebody said, I feel like I tapped in too late, but what I did here definitely helped me. And that's awesome. And like I was saying, you guys, the replay, I'm going to post it as soon as the live is finished. If you are not following me, definitely follow me at Can I
Mm-hmm.
Grieve. Share this page with other people. There's so much content and information and events that's going to be taking place soon. And if you're not following India, can you drop your Instagram name in a comment, or I'll be sure to mention you so they can have that as well.
And if there's anything that you have coming up, I am in the space of wanting to continue to share and help more than anything, just help women
Okay.
um, and speak about breast cancer and wellness. So
Yes.
I'm in support of your platform and everything that you're doing. I appreciate it because a lot of people can't get up here who have experienced it to then
Yeah.
give other people that. So your strength is very admirable.
Thank you.
You're
So
very
I'll
welcome.
definitely keep you in the loop. I'm definitely looking to do something for Breast Cancer Month. So that's interesting that she said that. But we can talk offline more about that. Thanks everybody that tuned in this evening. The live will be posted in a few minutes. And Miss India, as always, it's been a pleasure. And you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you to
Thank
everybody that tuned
you.
in. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.